everyone, and welcome back to Talking Points with KPI, episode number 52. Today, this was supposed to happen at 50, but due to plans and Thanksgiving and holidays, we weren't able to get it in. But today, we have a special podcast. It was supposed to be Maxon and Alex Kim, but Alex Kim unfortunately couldn't be here today, so we have the amazing Coach Ryan Edwards here to come out and help us out. So, Matt, you saw one of these goes down last time.
Yeah.
All right. My first question for you is, how much better do you think this podcast is going to be than the other?
Way better.
Okay.
We got some personality on the podcast finally instead of some boring old men. Just
boring old men
talking about arm stuff. We're gonna make it interesting.
Okay. So you mean Dan, Eric, and everybody?
Chase.
Oh,
yeah.
Old man Chase.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So we got some questions before we start getting into the topic. So Maxon, I'll ask you first, but what are some main reasons you train at KPI?
I chose KPI because, honestly, shout out to JoJo Cardinale, hooked me up here. KPI has just made me so much better. Weight room, arm care, all the above just makes me a way better player.
Absolutely. Okay, so now Coach Ryan.
So I actually had Tommy John a couple months ago. Actually coming up on month 8 right now, but played for Coach Woggs for 2.5 years, and so as soon as I got hurt at the beginning of my high school season, I called him first, and he offered me a sort of a half job, half free training here. So it was too good to pass up, and it was something I needed to do.
Absolutely.
I want to be able to continue playing baseball.
And we are almost at, what is it? We're at 64 today?
I hit 62 today. A new PR, flat ground PR, 40 foot.
That's what I'm talking about. If you don't know what's happening here, you better be careful and on the lookout. So, out of high school, just coming into high school, right? You hear these things, you hear this guy talk about the way that he goes about his stuff most of the time. You guys have some time to chat. You've yet to play baseball in high school, right? We
Summer
league. I'll give you that. That's with high school incoming freshmen, right? You guys dominated. Run me through that, right? So talk about how was the summer experience, tell who you play with, talk about what's going on, and then tell me your future goals for high school.
I've always been close with my brother. I've always been up with his friend group. So going in the summer, I've played with those boys before, so it's not out of the norm for me. It's all fun. I expect myself, I give myself high expectations going into the season. I hope we make it out with the CCS championship, but we'll see how it ends up.
CCS? Freshman year CCS champ?
CCS.
This dude's going big, going bold. So being on, for those of you who don't know, Alpha Prime is who Matt Maxon plays for. He's a pitcher and outfielder for Alpha Prime. How did that, right? Because that coming from Carmel, right? Obviously not the biggest baseball area, more of a surf type chill place. You know what I mean? We're being honest, the beach is right there. How does that level of play kind of, it doesn't correlate, but be able to give you a perspective of where you're at baseball-wise?
Alpha, Alpha being one of the top teams in the country, we play the best competition. So seeing all that, seeing the velo, getting the repetitions, it all leads into high school. It's going to make me better. It's going to prepare me for big guys going into high school.
Right. And so now Coach Edwards, Ryan Edwards, seeing you play for Alpha, right? Graduated in 22, being able to play with the likes of the Nick Dugan, the Malcolm Moore, these guys, these high-level D1 talent, and being on the same team as them, how do you feel, and hearing what Maxon had to say, how do you think, he's right, and what are some aspects of where you think he missed?
No, I totally agree with it because me being from NorCal, talent is not where I need to be at, where I need to be competing against. So a little story, I remember it was my second summer playing for Alpha, and I'm starting the first game in Georgia. First batter gets on, base hit, next guy comes up, and it was a Notre Dame commit. I threw him one fastball and he hit a bomb. And I was like, these dudes are legit, but I'm supposed to be here. So that really pushed me to step up, which then, carried over to high school, like what Maddie was saying.
Yep.
But no, I totally agree with it. It's exactly where you need to be playing if you want to continue playing.
That brings up a whole other topic, like that humble pie that you
Yes.
get. Like your first time, I still remember James Free, if you're out there, I still remember you. You took me off of the In-N-Out at Alameda because I blew a fastball by you, and I had the confidence to try to do it again. That did not work out so well for me. But coming off that topic, so Ryan talked about it, I talked about it. What was your kind of, like they call it like the NBA moment, like, you know what I mean? Like when you're like, oh crap, like these dudes are legit. I'm not in Carmel anymore.
Yeah.
What was that moment for you and your? If it could be summer ball, it could be high school. Obviously, it can't be high school because you haven't played yet. But in that summer ball moment, what was like, oh snap, like I'm not in Little League anymore?
Well, like my first Alpha tournament, it was the UBC. That was still mostly California team, so we handled our business.
Yeah,
we won the tournament,
there
but
you go.
then it was the national championships up in Cary, and yeah, so it was my first time pitching like against a real team for Alpha, and this is a team we're really actually supposed to beat. So my fastball is all over the zone. I'm not locating, and I end up getting pulled in like the third, fourth inning with 4 runs given up, and I'm like that one hurt, but at least we're still in the game.
Yep.
And we just ended up losing on a walk-off pass ball. And I just thought, I let my boys down, this one's on me, and I knew I should have done better, but, it is what it is.
Absolutely. And then you guys had a great rest of the summer after that, right?
Yeah,
Going
yes,
to
we did.
WWBA, not doing what you wanted, but having a good spot and being in the playoffs and
Yep.
understanding where you guys can be at. Talk about, and then Ryan, I'll ask you the next question, kind of get a different mindset of an older guy, but you have a very good perspective, right? I mean, a lot of guys will go, I let the team down, like my summer's over, like these guys are looking at me, I can't get it right, like now my college stuff is over. Like talk about how, and the people that already understand heard it just now, but like that kind of mindset to where like I'm a dog, like I get, like some days are going to be bad, but like it doesn't matter, I'm still going to go out there and compete.
Yeah, I mean, like, I came back, first tournament back for this summer with Alpha. You know how Wogs is, like, I throw 11 pitches, I'm not throwing for the rest of the tournament, arm care, health, whatever, but we're in a...
shout out Coach Wogs.
Shout out Coach Wogs.
11 pitches, max.
So we're in a tie game. I come in, I think it's like the 6th inning. I come in, strike out the first 2. I think the third guy grounded out, and then I was just checking my velos after the game. It was 85, 86, consistent, and I was just like, let's go. I was like, yo, coach, what am I going to throw in the playoffs? And he's like, you're on that KPI train, man. Like, you're going to have to talk to Wogs about that. So I call up Wogs, I'm like, yo, coach, just had a lot of low-stress pitches. He's like, but your velo was up. And I'm like, hey, but it was 11. I was like, it's 11 pitches, coach. And he's like, you're not pitching. Don't ask. And I was like, wow, like, kept trying to convince him, he wouldn't let me.
So now Ryan, well, I'm gonna come back to that because that's a good thing to talk about. But Ryan, so like, and obviously you can talk about the injury too and that mindset all on its own. Obviously I've dealt with injury itself, and it's just a beast to be able to kind of mentally come over that and try to be like, okay, I can actually do this, knowing you're not at the same place you were. But me seeing you have struggles in the game while you're healthy, and then with my own eyes being able to see you come back and dominate the next day, mind you.
Yeah.
Talk about how that feeling for you is dealt.
So, leading up to my commitment, Long Beach had never watched me in person. It was all video. All video. So they never saw me because I was right at the shutdown of COVID. Yeah. So when everything opened back up, I'd been throwing out through summer and a little bit of fall, and they still hadn't been able to see me. So it was the following summer of my junior year, so it's like, okay, like it's kind of coming up, like I gotta like produce for them. And I remember the coaching staff came out and watched at a tournament in Arizona. I started the first game, and I think I maybe threw 1 2/3, just couldn't locate fastball, off speed wasn't working, velo was down, just wasn't feeling good at all. And they were there for that. That was their first time watching me. And so I remember going back to the hotel after that, and I was like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? And I remember talking to Austin Turkington's dad, Ted Turkington.
Shout out Ted Turkington.
Shout out Ted Turkington. And he was all like, dude, you gotta remember, like, you've proven yourself already, which is why you're in this position, like playing on Alpha with the verbal commitment at the time. And it was just kind of just like that reminder, like, okay, like, it's gonna sound corny, but like in a sense, I'm him.
Yeah,
I have that mindset.
I am him.
And so I remember coming out, and the next time I started another game later on in the term, a couple days later, and Long Beach was there watching, and I was looking at the roster. They have a lot of dudes, East Coast team, a lot of big lefties, a lot of powerful lefties, and so like those are the guys I like throwing against because I'm kind of just like off speed, like minimal fastball. And I remember I went 5 complete, I think maybe 1 run, 2 hits, but yeah, it was just little sort of awakening.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what. And for those of you out there, I mean, these are stories, right? I mean, these aren't fake people. I'm actually sitting next to them. One's coming into high school, one just got out of high school, right? They're very different spectrums of their lives with same stories, right? You got to understand that we're all in this together. Like, we all have similar situations that we deal with that we can help each other out with, and this is a platform to where we can kind of talk about it and get these questions out there. So, what I wanted to come back to, Mr. Maxon, 11 pitches, 85, 86. We're shoving. We feel good the next day.
Yep.
You call up Wogs. You say, hey, Wogs, I'm good to go. He says, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Hold on. How does, and you being at KPI for almost over a year now, right? Over a year.
Yeah.
Right? You know the deal, right?
Yep.
But in that competitive state, what was your mindset? And then reflecting on it, do you still think it was a good thing, or do you think it was a bad thing?
So in the moment, I was like, I was really mad.
Yeah.
Like, I was mad at them, but you know, I was mad at them throughout the tournament actually, because our team was running out of pitching because a lot of our guys couldn't come out because you know they were just taking a little break, and you know, so we had to throw one of our lower end guys who isn't really a pitcher. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this is a championship game. I threw 11 pitches. Like, I should be throwing right now. And we go out there, you know, we won. And after we won, you know, I texted Wogs. I'm like, sorry, bro. Sorry for being mad at you. Like,
Yeah.
we won, man. We're good. Like, I so wish I could have pitched, but, you know, we won.
So, but I mean, you understand where he's coming from, right?
Yeah.
You're his, and everybody in this facility feels the same way when they talk to Wogley. Like, you are his child. He treats you as such, whether you like it or not. I don't want to speak for him, but I bet you he was laughing on the inside when you said I wanted to compete, right?
Yeah.
Because he knows you want to do that just as bad as anybody else. But talk about, and Ryan, I'll go to you now, being on the coaching side of it. Talk about how it's kind of interesting now, right? Because now you have to dial kids back.
Yes.
From a year ago, the mindset was, I need to go.
Well, it's so funny too, because like literally you asked me the same question like 4 months ago, and I'm still like, nah, like let him go, like because I totally understand like where you're coming from. And so now me like being on the outside man, looking at your situation, like okay, like new recent Stanford commit, right? And you didn't throw in the championship game of that tournament. Like, you're still going to Stanford. Like, you didn't need to throw after those 11 pitches. So it's like, I totally understand where you're like, yeah, like, I want to go. I'm feeling good. But now it's like, at the same time, it's like, what's the point?
Right.
Like, those moments aren't all what's going to decide whether you're going to move on or not. You know?
Absolutely. Great advice. I didn't think that was going to happen, but great advice. So, now we're going to get to some KPI questions before we move on, and maybe these take the conversation of their own. But so, Matt, what's the best part about KPI?
The environment, for sure. All the coaches, you know, even the kids out here, like, everyone kind of has a bond in a way. It's not like you're just coming in here, you know, you're doing your lift, you're leaving. It's kind of like you come in here, you get your work done, but in the midst of getting your work done, you know, you can still enjoy yourself. You know, you still have relationships with your peers. You know, just all's well, and it's a great environment here.
Absolutely. And so I'm going to talk to that point, Matt. Speak to the diversity, right? Because we talk about it all the time. Like, we have kids from draft picks out of high school to kids that will make their JC team and maybe not play after that, right? That's just the reality of the diversity that we have in this group of kids that train here. How does that make this place better?
It makes it better. I mean, because like even the kids that won't make it past their JC team, you know, they're seeing the older guys. You're seeing how they work, you know, how they compete with one another, you know, and maybe they can take in like that mindset and become like themselves and become their full potential. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna ask you again. Transferring from, well, actually no, I'll ask you from both sides, right? So being able to train here and being able to coach here, how have you seen that the diversity in this group be able to excel players, whether they're coaching?
Kind of like doubling up with Maddie, like some of the guys that like aren't as developed or just don't have that like pure raw skill, you know, seeing what the dudes are doing, you know, and like me, I was one of them. I was like, okay, I want to do what that guy's doing. Like, look at him. So it's like, okay, I see that. You know, you pick up on patterns and stuff like that, which, you know, could lead to, you know, some show, an outbreak of something. I don't know, but I think that's like perfect. And then, you know, us having a lot of dudes allows for them to push each other. You know what I mean? There's still that alpha like dog mentality where it's like, okay, I am really good. I want to be the best.
No, for sure. So we brought it up, but I like to touch on this topic as much as I can because I was in this situation in high school, right? You're on the other end. You were on the end that I was kind of at. Going out of high school, right, the whole main goal for sports athletes is to be on their trajectory to go to college or have a scholarship already set up, right? I want you to talk about the pressures of having one going into high school, right? Because most of us, the pressures flip the other way around. Like for me, for instance, I was in high school. I didn't even get a scholarship offer to my senior year of high school, right? All my friends are going D1, Irvine, Santa Barbara, Stanford, St. Mary's, and I'm watching these guys do this stuff, and I'm at the same level and or better than these guys, right? And so I'm continuously grinding, and my mindset is, okay, one day it's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Most of those guys, that defeats them. Right, so I'll ask you first, Matt, but how are you not even in technically high school, right? You're in high school, but technically not even in the season yet of baseball. How does that pressure of already being committed either hinder you or propel you into being a better player?
Well, obviously, like, it's kind of both because, you know, going into the season, you know, all my buddies who are on the team, you know, they know I'm going to get chirped. They tell me, oh, yeah, you have one bad game, you know, you're going to get chirped. People are going to say you don't deserve it. And obviously I'm like, I know. Like, I know that's going to happen. I just have to, like, be me, you know, show them what's up and just, you know, dominate.
Facts. And that's an amazing thing to say for a kid your age, right? Because you got to understand that high school, and for those of you who haven't experienced it yet, or the parents that out there that have experienced it at a lower age, high school is insane. High school sports is a little different. College is where things start to step up a little bit, right? And the even playing field comes out. But high school is a dog pit, man. I mean, you got to understand that you got to play at the highest level all the time for you guys to get seen and be able to go to college. So now, Ryan, you being on the other side, right? You talked about it, having a little shakiness with where you're at, right? Talk about that pressure and how you felt about it.
So it's kind of also funny, like me being here now. So it's like you ask freshman me, 15 years old, like not talking to these schools yet, and like I'm freaking out for literally no reason at all now. But like at the time, you know, I'm freaking out. And then just the whole recruiting process with Long Beach went super quick. So I committed back at the end of my sophomore year, so I had junior and senior year still like with that. But I thought of it more of like not like, oh, like I have a Division I scholarship. I thought it was like, okay, no, like me right now is not good enough to compete at that level, so I have to keep trying to
progress,
exactly. So it wasn't so much as like a badge. It was kind of like, okay, like this is an
shoulder.
expectation. Like I have to do this to be able to do it.
No, absolutely. That makes perfect sense, right? You don't want to, and I think that's where you see it happen all the time, right? With these guys that commit early, right, and then they just don't get better. Exactly, because it's the status of having that. And then going back to the environment piece, like that's why we try so hard to get all aspects of athlete in here, right? Because we have the Maxons who are committed, have a strong work ethic, understand how that's going to progress them, and the kids, like you said, the kids that aren't going to get past their JC level see that, and they feed off that, and they just do the weights how they're supposed to do them. They train how they're supposed to. They get in the weight room. They do their stuff. They go do their homework. Like most people don't know, you're playing 3 sports.
I didn't know that until today. You
Bro,
said something about it.
3 sports and traveling from Carmel to get to San Jose to train at baseball. Right? Talk about just talk about how that travel. And I guess there's some people that may say, "Oh, he just does it because he wants to be a KPI." Well, it's like, well, then why wouldn't he go train somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a little hard, you know.
I don't doubt it. You don't have to be honest. Like you can say it's hard.
Yeah,
man.
it gets on me, you know. I get a little stressed out, you know. I obviously Stanford, you know, I gotta have my grades high, you know. So I'm out here doing my homework in the car, on the ride up, ride down. Football season, I had football practice first, then I would come up. But now practice is late, so I'll come up earlier in the day and then drive back and do practice. So, I mean, I'm basically doing 2 days, a couple days a week, and keeping my grades up high. So it is stressful. It's hard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you at all. And so talk about, because this is the thing, right? So with kids that do this, and I was a very high functioning, right? And I bet you Ryan's the same way, wanting to do a lot of things, not wanting a lot of breaks, because idle hands are the devil's playground. You know, just being able to do things is what we need to do. Talk about how, and I'll add this to another, you're a very social person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Having friends is a complete aspect of your life that you put energy and focus into. Making you very relatable, making you a very popular person within the group and within your school and community. Yeah. How has that aspect of your life, right? Because most people go, I'm just going to grind by myself. How have you been able to balance the friends and be able to lean on other people when times get tough?
You know, I make sure my relationships with my friends, like, are good. Like, I make sure, like, me and them, like, are tight. So I have my friends, and then I have, like, my inner group where I can really rely on them, and, you know, I make my tough decisions and ask them what I should do and tell them what's going on. So it's kind of like they're there for me, I'm there for them, and, you know, we're like brothers in a way, you know what I mean?
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to get another KPI question. Okay. So we talked about it a little bit, but what, or I guess who owns you? And you can pick any sport you want, right? But somebody who owns you in that sport, who is it?
Who owns me?
Who owns you? You can say nobody, it don't matter.
Yeah.
There's like one guy, there's always that one guy.
I mean, like, owns me?
Owns you. What else does it mean?
Nobody.
Hey! Okay, all right. Coach Ryan?
Probably one of my buddies. So he played baseball with me, like, through Little League. Like, he stopped playing after high school.
I'll bleep his name out.
But, no, he thinks this is hilarious when I told him this. But, so, like, I'd been thrown against him, like, back in, like, AA. So it's like he's seen me my entire life, like, high school, like, travel ball, inter squads, I'm always throwing to him. So when high school came, he got hurt his sophomore year, so we didn't play together till junior year. Okay. And I would be throwing to him, and it's like, he would see movement, and, like, my stuff that would just barely move out of the zone, he'd know to take, and as soon as I threw a fastball, for some reason, I'm like, bro, why are you finding barrels right now? It is, yeah. I mean, I don't think I maybe got him out twice in a total of 10 at-bats. It's just like, what?
That's the same thing with me. I feel it's always the high school guys
I know.
you grew up with.
He's done playing.
Same. Shout out Jake Cosgrove. You own me. I'll admit it. But Max Allers, I own you, and you know it. Okay. He comes in here, so he's okay with that. But now, so Ryan, I'll talk to you a little bit. We talked about it a little bit, but coming back from an injury, me myself, I've come back from an injury. I almost lost my right hand going into my sophomore year. Really kind of took the wind out of my sails, right? You're highly recruited, and then everything just kind of seems to just go away like that. It's just the nature of the business, right? It's nothing. They tell you that it's nothing against you, right? It's nothing against your personality. It's just the circumstances of the business, and we can't have somebody who's hurt playing on a team. How were you able to function through that? And for people like Max, or for other people who are going through injuries, what is some advice you would give?
So, my situation kind of really sucked. It was the first inning of the first game of senior year, and leading up to that was my last travel ball game back in the fall. where I did not do good, like didn't get out of the first. So that stuck with me for a couple months. Leading up into high school, like I'm feeling good. First inning, first game, third batter, and it's torn. And so I remember talking to Wogs right after it, and I was like, yep, I'm going to come to you for the summer. Like, I'll do my rehab with you, and then head down to Long Beach and finish it there. A couple weeks later, I get a call from the coach, and he said, hey, like, I know about your plan going to KPI. I want you to just do that for the whole year. Okay. Take a gap year, train there, rehab everything, and then come back next year as a freshman. So, like, as this year, like, gets shorter and shorter, like, I'm realizing more now that, like, this is perfect.
Yeah, this is what you should.
This is what I should have been doing the whole time. When it first happened, I was super bummed. I thought that was his way of being like, yeah, you're not going to come here, but like,
it's like letting you off.
Exactly. And I was like, and then I had a couple coaches also say, not directly to me, but they're like, me, I'd go in the fall, and then that's when they would make the decision to drop me, and I was like, I don't need to be here now.
Yeah.
So like now you ask me now, and I'm extremely happy that I'm here, spending the year doing this, because it's just far different from what I was used to. Like my training is completely different, my environment is completely different, like Maddie was saying. So I mean, and I'm at a point like this is just my confidence in KPI. Like I'm not worried about my situation for next year because I know like this is where I will get best and better myself. You know? So I think that's a good like example for like guys that are listening, like Maddie too. Like they know what they're doing. You know, they're gonna take care of you.
Yeah. And for those like it's really just we take care of the athlete first, right? A lot of these places, it's an ego-filled business, and that's just the way of the nature. Like the biggest beast is going to eat the most, and we're trying to do that, right? But we're trying to do it with an approach of taking care of the athlete first. And understanding that they're the person that is going to play this game for a long time and not us, right? We're just coaches. We help them get there, but we want them to be able to play at a high level for a very long time. So Matt, hearing that, does that, right, I know you already bought into KPI and all this stuff, right? I'll talk about Wogs in a little bit, but how have these systems genuinely elevated your play?
I mean, it's actually kind of crazy because, like, I mean, 7th grade, I was good, but I wasn't like this good.
Yeah.
And then I started coming to KPI, you know, working my tail off, you know, trying to be like one of the high-end guys in NorCal. And coming out of KPI like a year and a half later, like I'm playing on one of the best teams in the country. I'm one of the best pitchers in California, and I mean it's just crazy to me how much this changed my mentality, and not even just that, but also like my physical ability and everything.
Okay, so we're going to get on the topic of Wogley, but at first I'm going to ask you guys a question, a KPI question. Okay, so you were Eric Wogley. You are now a new business owner at KPI, and you walk in tomorrow. What is the first thing you do to KPI?
If I could do anything,
Yes, anything you want.
a bigger building.
Or
Or
bigger
room.
building. Okay.
So that way we could bring more people in.
Ooh,
I like that.
Noah's Ark type stuff,
I like
yes.
that. Like you could do that, right? But then that also costs a good amount of money,
what-
right?
that's
see, he's looking at it from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're looking at it from the money standpoint, obviously a bigger building, better stuff. You know, even though stuff is great, like if we're not talking about money, you know, you can get
Okay.
crazy stuff.
Okay.
But like with the money, I mean, like I don't even know. I like it here.
So you wouldn't do anything. You'd walk in and be like, nah, this is good.
I mean, with the money spent,
Money, okay, here, I'll give you this. Money, not an issue.
money not an issue.
Money is not an issue. You're Eric Wogley, right? You're walking in, you look around, you're like, this is a nice business, but I could do something else.
You see, I would get rid of that over there. I'd talk to people on that, you know, make that a big field. So we have
Okay.
a field right next to the facility, you know what I
Solid.
mean? Have a door right there.
Solid.
Open it to the field, you know. Maybe have like a yearly KPI tournament
Oh,
with some dudes.
okay.
You know
Like
what I
high
mean?
level
Yeah,
talent?
mhm.
Okay. all right.
Kind of like KPI area code.
Oh,
You know what I
KPI
mean?
codes.
KPI codes.
That'd be fire. All right, so now we're going to talk about the big man. Okay, Eric Wogley. All right. So we mentioned him a couple times through this podcast. Matt, I'll go to you first, right? Aaron or Ryan, I'll let you go deep dive on what we've experienced. But experiencing Coach Wogley, okay? First I'll just go this. How has he helped you in your baseball career?
It's been crazy. Like, he's got me in here, got me working, made me a better player first. Then throughout that, like, we've built a relationship. He's like family to me at this point, and, he's a big part of my commitment. He's done a lot for me, and I really appreciate that. Big text for Thanksgiving. Thankful for that, man. I just wish the best for him and hope everything keeps going well.
All right. So, Ryan, I'll ask you the same question, but along the lines of how obviously he helped you develop as a baseball player with the training and all that stuff, but what would you want people to know that most people wouldn't know that Eric Wogley does for these athletes?
I think one thing that might go unnoticed is he's very sly about it, but he is like always doing what is best for you. Mm-hmm. So it's like he's not going to directly come up to you and be like, hey, I'm going to do this. He'll just do it. Yeah. And it's just like, all right, I did this for you, kind of thing. It's like he's never one that you really have to like ask for help. He's kind of just always giving help. So there's never really a chance for you to be like, man, I like need some more guidance, because it's just always there. For sure.
Yeah, like he doesn't want the spotlight.
Exactly.
He'll
That's
work
what I mean.
on
He
the
just
cover,
does it on the table. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of like where the biggest thing because like I've seen him as a coach, and now I'm seeing him as a boss, a little bit of a mentor. Just checking in with me, and I'm seeing just those little things. It's like, oh.
He does care.
He's thinking about it. Yeah, exactly.
Shout out Eric Wogley before we go on any further. But I want to talk about the piece that KPI brings to the table that I have not, and I've trained at a lot of places, have not seen many facilities do. And that is make every single one of their employees and staff make sure that they're on the same page. Mm-hmm. Right? Talk about, and I'll talk to you from a coach's and player's perspective, but Matt, from a player's perspective, how does it feel to go up to any coach and be able to talk to them about what's going on in this facility?
Talking to them is like really relatively easy. Like, I have a question, I'll ask, they'll answer. Like it's not embarrassing. If I don't know something, I'll just ask them. It's not like embarrassing to me. Like, whatever. Like in the weight room, my form's wrong.
I'm gonna cut you off. Because you make a very good point. Do you think at other facilities that's what it is when kids come in? They think it's embarrassing to ask questions?
I don't know. I don't think all kids, think it's embarrassing, but I think some kids may be like, shoot, should I know this?
Yeah.
But like KPI, shoot, I don't know this. Yeah. Yo, what do I do? It's easy to talk to.
So now, coming to you, Ryan, right? You have gone through the systems as a player, but now really, really having to understand the systems as a coach. Talk about how the communication at this building is a major piece.
I feel like the why for everything that you're teaching is very important. So it's like me being like a player, it's like a coach is telling you to do this. Oh, the coach is telling me to do this. It's probably right. I'm doing it. But then now, like me being where I'm at, it's like I have to know why that is the right thing to do. So it's like, meeting with staff directly, and then really filling me in, and then just like studying leading up to it. I mean, they told me I was gonna have to know everything, and yeah, so it's just like me being in like a semi-coach's role. It's sort of like, oh, like this is the reason for this happening, and it's just making me understand my movements and patterns in a whole new way, because now I'm understanding the whole why behind it.
Absolutely. And that's like when we talked about that in prior podcasts. Like that's one thing us as coaches, Ryan, we prioritize ourselves on communication and wanting everybody in this facility to come up to any one of the coaches, and the coaches be able to, if not knowing the expertise on the language, having the communication to be able to go up to someone else and figure that problem out on the spot. And I feel like Matt, attested to that, but having the kids feel in a space where they're comfortable, or they not having to go, I don't know if I should ask coach that, and then doing the wrong thing, right? Because we see that all the time where kids do that in the weight room and then they get hurt, and it's like, well, I was doing something else. It's like, well, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. Just ask and this problem won't occur. Yeah. Okay, so we have one more KPI question before we wrap this up. What is one KPI crew member, this can be coach or player, that you would want to go to war with at all times? Just one person. It's just one person, and you're going to war with them.
Dan.
Dan?
Dan.
Okay.
Dan.
Shout out Dan.
Shout out
Strength coach.
Anybody?
Anyone. Coach, player,
I'm trying.
even dog. You can go Bash or Cannon.
Cannon. I don't know what the dogs are gonna do for me.
Yeah, you got a good
but
point.
I'm thinking of someone who's big, that's like scary big. I don't know, dude. I've seen Chase wrestle with some of the guys, and I'm like, okay, why is Chase like whooping on this like 18-year-old kid? So I don't know. I might have to go Chase.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah.
Chase. He's used to swinging
I think
bats
he's
around.
a sneaky killer.
might
He's like
be
a
a
gentle
sneaky killer.
giant, but
No, that's true.
that giant comes out eventually.
That makes you actually got a good point there. All right, thank you guys very much for watching. Ryan Edwards, Matt Maxon. This has been an awesome episode, right? If you guys would like to see more of athletes and coaches inside the facility, just chopping it up, please let us know. Leave a comment in the YouTube section. Thank you guys very much for listening. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and then please subscribe to our YouTube channel at Kinetic Performance Institute. We will see you guys next time.